It's sunrise here on the west coast of Canada, and I'm actually, in fact, here in West Vancouver. And behind me, you'll see a little pop-up restaurant on a site that will eventually be a brand new development. There'll be a small town here in a few years, and we're going up this road over here to Cypress Mountain. Cypress Mountain is one of the local ski hills in Greater Vancouver. On that side, well, over there is English Bay, and what we're going to head to today on a road trip is all the way up the Sea to Sky Highway to Squamish. There's a bunch of things to see, and we're going to do it all in this GV70, this Genesis GV70. As you see it, 84,500, which is pretty reasonable for a fully electric luxury SUV. This is an example of where Genesis, which is Hyundai's luxury brand, wants to go. By 2030, Genesis says its entire lineup will be fully electrified. So I have about 83% of a charge in this baby, and that should give me around 350 kilometers of range. So we're going to head up to Squamish, which is about 65 kilometers from here. But first, I want to show you a little bit of what happens when you take this road all the way up to Cypress and take in the view of downtown Vancouver all the way to the US border. And this is Cypress Lookout. It's a tremendous place to stop and take in a view of the entire Lower Mainland. If you are visiting the west coast of West Vancouver, you've got to stop here on your way up the Sea to Sky Highway. Not so long ago, we held an Olympics here. I would say of the 3 ski hills here in the Lower Mainland, this is the one that gives you the most big mountain-like experience. And by big mountain, I'm thinking Whistler Blackcomb kind of experience. The Lower Mainland has 2 other major ski hills. There's Grouse Mountain, which is probably more famous than Cypress, and then there's Mount Seymour, which is a small mountain very popular with boarders. In the background there, you can see some of the runs on Cypress Mountain. And you can zip up here in about 40 minutes from downtown Vancouver, and you have a big mountain experience. And while we're talking about zipping up and down, we're driving this GV70 electric, and I thought we'd take a pause here before we continue down the mountain to Sea to Sky Highway to take a look at the design here. And I really have to say, this is interesting without being overwrought. It's somewhere in the middle. Now, the Hyundai people, or the Genesis people, will get into this whole thing about its athletic elegance and the wonderful proportions and the great ellipses that are all over the place, and it's wonderful. But to me, design is really about what does it make you feel like when you look at it. I think it's athletic looking, it's stylish, and by the way, driving this rig is a lot of fun. And why is that? Well, it's got 420 net horsepower with the fully electric battery power here. But as with all electric vehicles, the battery pack now is pushed right to the floor, which means your center of gravity is very low. And so as you corner, the car just stays flat and planted. And I think there's some real future for the Genesis brand, because the vehicles are not only exciting to look at, they drive well. We're in a little community called Seascapes, which is just outside of West Vancouver and Horseshoe Bay. I wanted to stop here for a moment just to give you a sense of what the Sea to Sky Highway looks like. It's a twisty road that really runs along a fjord, the fjord that runs from Horseshoe Bay all the way up to Squamish. And from Squamish, that's your route to Whistler. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I just want to give you a quick look of what's over here on the Sea to Sky Highway, because it's a terrific piece of highway. Before Vancouver and Whistler were awarded the 2010 Olympics, the Sea to Sky Highway was mostly a 2-lane road that was pretty dangerous, especially in the winter. Of course, it was expanded with hundreds of millions of dollars, and now big chunks of it are four lanes. They would call this a dual carriageway in England. This stop is Porto Cove, which is a combination boat launch, campground, and stargazing mecca. We've stopped in Britannia Beach, and over my right shoulder is the Britannia Beach Mining Museum. Well, actual mining went on here for decades, but it's been decades since all that mining stopped. If you want to know the history, stop here on the Sea to Sky Highway and tour the mining museum. Now, when the mining did occur here, of course, the mining companies treated the fjord over to my left like a giant tailing pond. It was a sewer, and all the wildlife disappeared. But since then, since mining stopped, the wildlife has come back. Of course, developers have discovered Britannia Beach as a perfect place to build new housing, and it's popping up everywhere. And why not? The Sea to Sky Highway is a major artery between the North Shore and Whistler and beyond. I've had some time behind the wheel, and wow, one of the things that stands out is the explosive power. The powertrain here is rated at 429 horsepower, I believe, net horsepower, but there's a boost button that gives you about 10 seconds of extra vroom that raises the net horsepower to something north of 480. A couple of other things that stand out: all-wheel drive, so you get very nice balance, low center of gravity. You can control some other things like the regenerative braking. There's paddles behind the wheel that allow you to adjust how this vehicle recaptures energy to feed it back into the battery. The GV70 is dead quiet on the highway, largely because it has noise-canceling technology. It uses sound waves to counteract external sounds and whatever noises are generated from the motion of the body itself. The Sea to Sky gondola is just a few minutes south of Squamish on the Sea to Sky Highway, and it is a major tourist attraction. Though it's not been without controversy. Someone has cut the cables on this gondola at least twice or maybe 3 times. I've lost count. And of course, the RCMP has been unable to find the perpetrators or in any way charge anybody for the vandalism. Nonetheless, if you are here, you really must take that gondola to the top. The views are fantastic down the fjord, and from here you also get a fantastic view of Shannon Falls. Let me say a few words about the GV70 electric, but from the inside out. The cabin here is absolutely terrific, and it starts with the seats. They are immensely comfortable. The back seat, well, it's not that great, but it'd be okay for kids, I suppose, and people who don't complain very much. As you sit in the driver's seat, well, the digital display, the cluster, spits out all kinds of terrific information. To the right is the infotainment screen, which again is a long strip of screen that has excellent graphics and is easy to work through, either scrolling through or with the touch screen. I would say overall, the cabin is a huge success. Here we are in Squamish at an Electrify Canada charging station, and I'm putting some juice back into the GV70 EV. It's been an interesting drive. I'm going to show you Squamish in a different video because so much is happening in this coastal BC town that I just can't do justice for it in this video. But I do want to mention a couple of things about charging. This vehicle is capable of using a 350 kilowatt charger, and there is one here, but it doesn't work. And this 150 kilowatt charger that's just over here, this one doesn't work either. Finally, we did find one after I called Electrify Canada, and we tried a number of these chargers, and this is one of the problems with owning an electric vehicle. Charging. If you don't have a home charger, it's hit and miss with a lot of the charging stations in Canada and the United States. That said, I really enjoyed driving this GV70 EV. It's fast, it's powerful, it's luxurious, it's comfortable, it's quiet, and it does the job. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy Cato, and this is CatoCarGuy.com. We'll see you next time.